Perfect World Episode 181. The Great Luo Sword embryo in Ten's hand emitted a sacred crimson light and automatically struck the colorful dagger. With a cracking sound, the dagger's light seemed to pulse, gathering toward the sword. With a final soft sound, the dagger fell to the ground, shattering completely. Meanwhile, the Great Luo Sword embryo became radiant, too dazzling to look at. The light on the sword transformed into rainbow colors, becoming extraordinarily beautiful and enchanting. Eventually, the sword's surface smoothed out and dimmed once again, appearing dull with no luster. Shi Hao was surprised. The sword embryo was ancient and unadorned. Even after absorbing the colorful celestial scripture, it seemed no different than before. Even its weight remained unchanged. But Ten was still pleased. This sword embryo was mysterious, able to automatically absorb the celestial scripture, refining it into the sword. Clearly, it was undergoing its own transformation. Then Ten flicked the sword embryo lightly. The sound was clear. Satisfied, he sheathed it and thought no more about it. From afar, everyone was envious. After Luo Shenzi's death, he left behind a pile of treasures, but no one dared to approach, fearing Ten might notice. Suddenly, Ten raised his head, seeing a familiar figure. This man was in his 30s, with pupils like giant wings. He was a subordinate of Jundao, who had once come to the hidden city to find Ten, trying to persuade him to ally with Jundao and Duo Shengzi. But the alliance failed, leading Duo Shengzi to attempt to kill Ten in the hidden city. Long Yu came to observe the battle, expecting Duo Shengzi to win, but unexpectedly, Ten killed Duo Shengzi here. Seeing Ten block his path, Long Yu was so frightened he almost collapsed. But Ten didn't make things difficult for him. He only asked Long Yu to take him to Jundao, promising to spare his life. Long Yu, completely terrified, had no choice but to comply. The little rabbit excitedly shouted, "Time to loot another ancient freak," looking like it wanted to see the world burn. As for the others, they were all stunned, shocked to the core. Ten had just killed Duo Shengzi, and now he was going after Jundao. This was bound to shake the immortal bone world. Everyone's hearts were trembling. Meanwhile, the sects outside the immortal bone were all shocked by what they were seeing, especially those in Jundao's faction. Their faces were dark, closely watching everything unfold. Even in Jundao's sect, some were praying in secret, hoping Jundao would escape or take the next step. If this gets out, it will surely cause an uproar. Even the ancient freak sects were astounded. The world had truly changed. It could only be said that Ten was too powerful. Since coming to the upper realm, he's been pushing forward relentlessly. No one could stand in his way. In the end, the Stone of the God of War intervened. Following Long Yu's coordinates, they quickly set up a teleportation array. Ten and his group rushed down a passage, disappearing from sight. When they arrived at the cave where Jundao was in seclusion, they found a protective formation guarding it. But Ten didn't stop. He wielded the Great Luo Immortal Sword with all his might, splitting the mountain. The peak was leveled and the formation was cut open. Ten walked straight into the ancient cave. Jundao had already sensed this, activating the formation as he left, trying to delay Ten and his group. Without a word, Ten rushed into the cave. The vibrating arrow shot out with an immense surge of spiritual energy. Not only did it shatter the suppression platform, but it also sliced through the void. In the aftermath, only a stream of blood spilled from the void as everyone vanished, injured. He remained calm, knowing that breaking the tether had unleashed that immortal energy, but he was also aware that he had been defeated and made a swift retreat. This sudden attack by Shi Hao completely wiped out everything Jundao had, and the scene was filled with countless valuable items, from sacred medicines to semi-divine artifacts, strewn across the ground. The sheer volume of treasure was incomprehensible, enough to evoke envy in anyone who witnessed it. Among the treasures, many ancient books written by predecessors were scattered about, containing insights into various realms. Some even recorded the final thoughts of ancient geniuses, documenting their last steps. These books were truly priceless. Seeing these treasures, Shi Hao was elated. He knew that with them, he could retreat into seclusion to cultivate his second immortal energy. Eventually, Shi Hao and his team returned fully loaded, their joy immense. Cao Yusheng declared that he would enter seclusion to take the next step, as a pile of ancient books and numerous runes from the Sand Town lay in front of him, extraordinary and rare texts enough to make anyone envious. The Immortal Hall, Divine Slaying Spirit, and Jundao Jing's 3 major path tube collections were all present. Each book of insights from a predecessor would cause a sensation if released. The 3 major path tubes had poured their heart and soul into these for their breakthroughs. Meanwhile, Qingyi and a few others were completely engrossed in the ancient texts. Eventually, Qingji expressed some concern and informed Shi Hao and the others that he needed to leave for a while to resolve an issue. Everyone understood what Qingji meant. He had to settle things with his main body. Shi Hao offered to help suppress the main body, but Qingji declined, saying that this was something he had to resolve by himself. Qingji reassured them not to worry, as he had the Qingyue feast to protect him from anyone he encountered. After all, it was another version of himself, not an external enemy, and it was a matter only he could resolve. Cao Yusheng then remarked that everyone seemed to have chosen their own path, and he, too, had to go to the boundary. He would head to Wanzhen town and take that step no matter what. In the end, while Shi Hao and Taiyin Jade Rabbit battled the Godslayer, Huangdi left for the Cold Realm. The Immortal Valley was a terrifying and frigid little world, its ground cracked and frozen beyond freezing. The soil was frozen solid by icy energy, and this was Shi Hao's purpose for coming here. After thinking it over, he realized this little world was the best place for him to cultivate his second immortal energy. When Taiyin Jade Rabbit arrived, freezing and crying out, Shi Hao remarked, "You are the Taiyin Jade Rabbit, you should be resistant to cold." The Taiyin Jade Rabbit didn't argue, thinking perhaps this place contained the essence of Taiyin, as ordinary cold couldn't hurt him. Only something beyond his imagination could be this extreme. Shi Hao and the others then continued toward the center of the Cold Realm. On their way, they noticed an unusual scene. Numerous snowman figures, each in different poses, stood inside exquisite ice caves. Shi Hao quickly sensed something was off and unleashed a rune, scattering the ice and snow from the snowmen, revealing one divine corpse after another. These figures, both male and female, had been there for ages, appearing long dead. The Taiyin Jade Rabbit gasped in shock, sensing the extreme danger in this place. Among them was a true god. Despite their immense power, they also met their end. Shi Hao was perplexed, but after observing for a while, he decided to continue his journey. Along the way, he and his group encountered more corpses buried in the snow. In one stone cave, they found old people, young people, and even babies of a humanoid race with angular features, all frozen to death, yet their lifelike poses made them appear as if still alive. It was clear that they were natives of this cold, desolate place. Shi Hao pressed on and soon discovered a damaged altar. There, he saw a group of beautiful maidens being sacrificed, sealed within crystal-clear divine weapons. Strangely, the maidens retained their original expressions as though they hadn't suffered before death. In fact, they appeared joyful, as if anticipating something. Suddenly, Shi Hao Da Luo Immortal Sword began to glow on its own, emitting clear chimes. The entire snow mountain shone with terrifying light, radiating a sacred aura. At the same time, the immortal energy around Shi Hao's body became clear, coiling like a true dragon, and his body showed signs of abnormality. Meanwhile, in another small world, the forces of the Heavenly Kingdom, along with Jundao's 3 major powers, gathered their troops on the 3,000 ancient greenstone roads, preparing to besiege Shi Hao. The news of this sent shockwaves throughout the land, as ancient kings began joining forces. This was a powerful and fearsome alliance, and many speculated that this time, the odds were not in Shi Hao's favor. As the 3 major powers approached the greenstone roads, black fog surged, and countless powerful beings from various races gathered, creating immense pressure. At the rear, the dark divine sun stood like a towering mountain, his body radiating mysterious runes that caused the void to collapse. In another direction, the forces of the Heavenly Kingdom appeared, led by an ancient monstrosity sitting atop a giant skull surrounded by numerous assassins. From afar, Jundao and his many masters followed, their forces growing larger, filled with murderous intent. The Dark Divine Sun, the ancient monstrosity of the Heavenly Kingdom, and Jundao, 3 top-tier powerhouses with terrifying origins, had all gathered together, their ferocity overwhelming. They ruthlessly attacked all races, their hands stained with blood, showing no mercy to anyone. Today, these powerful beings had formed a terrifying alliance, ready to attack Shi Hao. "Can you see it?" one of them said. "I am here to avenge you." Another voice followed, urging Brother Dao from the temple not to hesitate. "Kill Huang, rid the world of this evil. Let's join forces." Jundao, after speaking, looked at someone not far away, and soon, at the command of the Dark Divine Sun, the army began its assault. They were about to break through the formation set by Shi Hao and the God-slaying stone. In an instant, flags fluttered fiercely, and killing intent surged like a sea. Silhouettes flickered everywhere, and the murderous intent was overwhelming. Several ancient monstrosities led the crowd to surround the road of erosion. The formation was immediately attacked, runes lit up, and a cold wind, accompanied by Shi Hao's voice, echoed across the battlefield. This voice was like thunder shaking the heavens, resounding everywhere. Soon, someone raged uncontrollably, swearing that even if they turned to ashes, they would recognize Shi Hao's voice. They believed that this time, Shi Hao would not escape, for many ancient monstrosities were involved. As long as the formation was broken, Shi Hao was doomed, and the sound was deafening. A strong figure standing outside sighed lightly, saying, "If even the ancient geniuses can't kill Shi Hao, he is destined to make rapid progress in the Immortal Valley. He will grow very quickly. Let's hope the Immortal Valley opens in a few years rather than after hundreds or thousands of years. Otherwise, if Shi Hao is given too much time to grow, there could be an enormous problem." Meanwhile, in another small world, Shi Hao remained unaware that the three major forces sent to besiege him had been completely annihilated, with Jundao almost destroyed. If Shi Hao knew, he would probably laugh uncontrollably, rolling on the ground. At that same moment, deep within the mountains, Shi Hao was wielding the Great Luo Immortal Sword to open the only heavenly cave. Protecting Taiyin Jade Rabbit by his side, he sensed something strange in the area: immortal energy. The god-slaying stone speculated that it might be due to his contact with the altar. Sure enough, when Shi Hao touched the altar with the Great Luo Sword embryo, more light and shadows floated up from the altar, and the divine aura became even more radiant. Beams of light rained down, flooding the area. Seeing this, Shi Hao quickly took out the original true interpretation of all spirits and closed his eyes. Through perception, he saw a series of images appearing on the altar, along with ancient imprints. The words, "I wish to become immortal," boomed like thunder in his mind. Shi Hao witnessed a tall and heroic figure, laughing at the heavens, with light radiating from his body in a majestic aura. The aura, power, and charisma of this man were awe-inspiring. He was a native, with divine might that pierced the heavens and the earth as he faced heavenly tribulations, seemingly unstoppable. Throughout history, no one had become an immortal, especially in this era. All had failed because the rules of the world had changed, leaving no immortals in this realm. Yet this man's presence shook the heavens and the earth with his unmatched divine power. The god-slaying stone marveled, saying, "This man is no weaker than Ye Qianyu. One laugh could topple mountains, and the heavens trembled because of him. He is terrifying beyond measure." At that moment, Shi Hao was in a daze, seeing the man advancing through ice and snow, transforming into the Taiyin, freezing the sky and sealing the heavenly tribulations. His peerless elegance was unmistakable. Soon the entire sky froze under his control, and even the heavenly tribulations were extinguished. However, the man also suffered injuries during the struggle. He broke through the immortal bone wind realm, dispersing the curse. His roar echoed, "I will lead my people back," motivating and driving him forward. His entire body emitted a blinding light as snow swirled around him, slashing toward the heavens. The power of the Taiyin boiled over, sweeping through the endless tribulations once again. Countless people from his tribe were praying for him, hoping and waiting for his success. After another thunder tribulation struck, the heavenly tribulation was about to dissipate. It was almost over. Raindrops of light fell, and the light of immortality appeared. At this moment, the entire tribe was overjoyed, believing the man was about to succeed in becoming immortal. However, a crack suddenly appeared on the man's forehead, and then it expanded. He began to disintegrate. An elder exclaimed in shock, "The Lord did not suppress the curse while resisting the heavenly tribulation." In the end, the man broke through into the primordial spirit realm. Shortly afterward, the elder and several powerful members of the tribe activated the altar, hoping to save him atop the heavenly dome. However, they overestimated their abilities. That man was on the verge of becoming an immortal, just one final step away, and his power was terrifying. Their primordial spirits were of no use. When the final bolt of lightning struck, the man exploded instantly, the curse invading his primordial spirit and causing him to shatter. His physical body dissolved into blood. In his final moment, he let out a long howl, exerting all his remaining strength, essence, energy, and spirit, and shot it toward the heavens. He destroyed the heavenly tribulation, preventing himself from nearing the immortal valley. Unfortunately, a sliver of his Taiyin divine light fell to the ground. This happened because when the elders activated the altar, their divine power connected with his, and as a result, his Taiyin power was drawn downward. In an instant, the entire small world was encased in ice, the world freezing in memory of that final moment. Despite his sorrow, as he looked down, he saw that the elders were smiling with a look of relief. "Rather than living in confusion, it is better to return. This is a fitting end," were the man's final words before he faded from the world. The powerful tribe was then completely sealed in ice, disappearing forever.